Live. What's up, gentlemen?
Hey.
What's up?
I am Edgar Lujano, the host, not assistant host, here with Thomas and Jeff Cam in the studio.
Hey.
What's up, guys?
Just Thomas, not
How you
Thomas
doing?
Cam.
Oh, hey.
Oh no, it's Thomas, the TikTok engine.
That's right. Not Thomas Cam. Jeff is the Cam.
I think we all three of us got our nicknames from Psy.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
Sounds Psy-like.
Psy, yep.
Yeah, he's got exerting his influence despite being on the other
That's
side
right.
of the pond right now.
Exactly. Welcome to this wonderful week of super shows, and it's Thursday, so the only one for this week. But a happy somewhat birthday around this week.
Thank
Jeff
you.
Cam?
Yeah, as
Good
Todd
job,
said,
Jeff.
I've exited my mid 40s and I've entered my upper 40s, which I was like, thanks, Todd.
Well done, Jeff. Good
Yeah.
job making it around the sun
Yeah,
again.
thank you.
Yes. Oh, potentially, because we don't know whether it's earlier this week or later
yet to
this
come,
week.
or today. Yeah, who
Okay.
knows?
Yeah, we just don't know. So
Who's to
happy
say?
birthday somewhere in there.
Thank you.
All right, today the first thing we're gonna discuss is something that I'm not really familiar with, but you guys are, because you guys are in the Twitter/X world. So Thomas, you have to explain what in the world is happening in the X world.
Edgar, would you you press a button that killed me?
I would not push a button that kills you.
All right. Well, think of it this way, Edgar. All right. That seems like the right answer at first. So this is a question that took Twitter by storm over the last week or so. And so, as the social media manager, I caught wind of this pretty quickly. But back on the 24th, so that was only a few days ago. That was last Friday. A guy by the name of Tim Urban, I believe he writes a blog. He posted on Twitter this poll. He said, "Everyone in the world has to take a private vote by pressing a red or blue button. If more than 50% of people press the blue button, everyone survives. If less than 50% of people press the blue button, only people who press the red button survive. Which button would you press?" And then 4 days later, Mr. Beast reposted the exact same prompt and poll and got even more. The first poll went viral, and then Mr. Beast, reignited it to a much greater degree. And so if you have been on Twitter at all, like in the last week, you have seen, if not had your timeline dominated by this question and people arguing about it. And it has gotten heated, let me tell you. This is not just an interesting thought experiment. This is like, people are dividing into camps on this question and like like wishing ill on other people in the camp and calling them idiots, and which is Twitter, so it's expected. But like the volume of it has been astounding. So before I read the poll results, do we all want to give our first answers to this question?
Can I just say, am I just a simpleton thinking that this is actually a pretty easy question?
Many would say, I think you are, yes.
Because it doesn't seem like that big of a dilemma.
Whoever's on the opposite of you would say you're a simpleton. But I think we should hear it from all of us, and then get into the actual results. But Edgar, what would you do?
Blue button. I mean,
Blue button right away.
Right away. I don't see it. Look, if everyone is in agreement, and I don't know, maybe it's the optimist in me, but thinking, hey, all we have to do is agree. We're all going to hit the blue button. Then I don't see why less than 50% would vote. Like you're able to save everybody. Why not hit the blue button?
Jeff?
Red.
Jeff is red. Okay.
What? Seriously?
All right.
I will say that my first instinct was the blue button, and then I read a very good reasoning why to do the red button.
All right, so we've got conflict. This is good. I was wondering, because I think my answer is probably blue also. I'm not quite as certain. I was worried that if we all agreed, then I would have to play the Reds advocate, but no. Jeff, in his now very obvious sweater, which I should have noticed the symbolism of.
I know.
right,
I can't
right away.
believe I worked this out so well.
Now Jeff gets to fight all of us. Here's what I think. I think obviously from a pure survivalist standpoint, the smart thing to do, the obvious answer is red button. If your only maximal concern is I want to guarantee my survival, because there's no scenario in which you press the red button and you die based on this layout. Like an airplane could hit you the next day, but we're not talking about that. But the more interesting question is, what is the moral choice? Is the moral choice different from the maximal survivalist one? And that seems to be where a lot of people are splitting on this. Everyone can agree that you have the highest chance of surviving yourself with the red one. So Jeff, you said you were close to blue, but now you saw a good argument that brought you onto red. So was it along those lines?
The argument was in the sense that me voting red or blue doesn't matter in the broader sense. There's absolutely no statistical way in which case there's a tie and my vote is the one tiebreaker. There's 8 billion people in the world. Even if you just said adults voted for it, it's still like 3 or 4 billion people, 6 billion people, whatever. So I am simply voting for my survival. And that's all there is. I have no ability to sit there and weigh somebody else's. And I actually thought this today, too. Even if the Pope came out and said, you should all press the blue button. If all Catholics actually followed what the Pope said, please,
Imagine.
God, that would still be like
Can you
maybe
imagine?
2 billion people, which you could still have, another portion of the world say, hey, well, let's get rid of all the Catholics, let's go red. So it's purely from from that standpoint, but it's also not necessarily selfish, because if the Reds win, it's going to be an insane world afterward, right? Like, because you're going to have a lot of people that pressed blue that died, and there's just going to be a huge change. So if you see yourself as a person who tries to make the world better and tries to help the world be better, you actually will be more helpful to the world having pressed red and then doing the cleanup rather than having pressed blue and hoping that, other people did as well.
That was an argument I saw a lot of. If you press red and make sure that we don't get up to the 50% threshold of blue, that would keep everyone surviving. You would weed out a lot of people that many Reds saw as problematic for civilization's survival or something like that, right?
Guys like Edgar here.
Which
We're calling
It's
people
like Edgar.
problematic. Next thing you know, you're gonna be like,
I know.
they're not actually human.
I know.
Hold on.
I don't think that's what you were saying, Jeff. But I saw.
That's
I saw
exactly
people
what
like
Jeff
that.
was saying.
No. My point was that you have, like somebody, people that own grocery stores, people that work, in the hospitals, people who, just people who have jobs, and suddenly there's some of those people are missing, and there might be spots where they're missing more. There's going to be chaos the next day, and as a person
That's a
who
good
pressed the
point.
red, you're not just surviving like, you're like rebuilding civilization.
So you should be very carefully weighing the responsibility that you would having pressed red, mostly for your own survival. But then after that, survival is going to take some work. After that, more work than it is right now. That's kind of it, right?
Yeah.
So Edgar, why did you say blue?
Because if you're talking about the potential of saving everyone, I don't see just maximalizing that. That's the simple answer. Like, I want to maximize the ability to save as many people as possible and avoid death for all. And if people fall into that mindset and agree with that, then you save everyone. And we end up in the same situation that we are now, where people fighting each other for absolutely no reason. But I'd rather that than there being the consequence of death for the sake of, I don't know, selfishness.
My inclination goes that way, but one thing I thought of right away is this canonical post that lives in my head that I saw again a while. I do this a lot. I saw a post about this a long time ago, but
So do I.
but someone
That's our generation, dude.
Someone said once, it's the proverbs of our age. It's the Twitter post one day. Someone once said, like, if your solution to the world's problems, and I know you weren't proposing that, but the point is, if your solution to the world's problem is some version of, if everyone would just this, that is not a solution, because everyone is not going to just. That's the point. We know that very well. Everyone is not going to just do this. So but at the same time, I do incline towards your way of thinking, not because I think everyone is going to just pick the blue option, but rather because if indeed your goal is to maximize the number of people, maximize the number of people who live, it is much more likely that happens, or rather, there's a larger window of blue pressers that bring about that outcome than red pressers. I'm saying this badly. In another way, the only way for 100% of people to live where the majority of people press red is if 100% of people press red. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If every single person on the earth presses red, then every single person survives.
Yes.
If one person presses blue and everyone else presses red, that person dies. And so on and so forth until you get like 51% of people press red. That means 49% of people who press blue, the other 49% of people are dead. But as soon as you cross over to 50% or more pressing blue, you have a huge barrier of percentages that you land anywhere in there and everyone on Earth lives. Does that make sense?
I feel like Thomas needs a whiteboard. It's that
yes, there was a
meme right
visual.
now.
I can't put it. Maybe I can like hold it up close to the camera or something. But there was a visual that showed this, that like the percentage of blue voters as it goes from 0 to 100, the number of people who survive goes down until it hits 50% blue, and then everyone 100% of the time, 100% of the population lives. Does that make sense? It's kind of.
Are you following? Because I'm having a hard time
Or
following.
do we need a visual?
We might need a visual.
I don't know.
When you say the part about you want people to act this certain way, and it's like, yeah, but the reality is that people don't. You know, it's like I would just not sin, actually.
Yeah.
But the reality is
Right.
that
Right.
everybody sins. I'm a sinner. We all sin. So knowing that, and knowing that that people are going to be protecting their own interests, that's where I think it takes a dark turn, but also a realist turn. And we don't live. We joke about like kind of it's dark here, but like.
It's
we live
dark.
pretty comfortably in the United States, though, compared to much of the world. And
You've traveled the world. I'm sure you've seen some pretty dark stuff out there. See, you understand.
not as dark as some my family has seen, but yeah, like there's some places that are, you know, poverty is just a very like a different order of magnitude than we've seen here.
I understand people's
Survival's much more immediate.
Yeah, I understand people's concupiscence and the desire to immediately be selfish, which would make me want to push the red button. But there's also just the thought of the pro-life like button to me is the blue one here. Like you want to save as many people as possible. Doesn't matter where they land, just save as many people as possible because you can guarantee everybody just to be saved.
No, I can't. Not my pressing the blue button does nothing. That's the thing. That's the reality of voting. My one vote does nothing.
Because it's a 1 in 8
I
billion
want everybody to
vote.
live. I want everybody to live, but I can only control whether or not I live, and I can control that by pressing the red button.
This comes up in any election discussion because
Yeah.
the rejoinder to that is, what if everyone thought that way? Then you wouldn't have a good voting system, right? If I say my vote means nothing, but then 4 billion other people say my vote means nothing and vote accordingly, all of a sudden we might have a lot of dead people on our hands, right? It's a real catch-22 when you think about the individual choice versus the effects of everyone, the effects of the collective.
Mr. B says, "Wait, what is the matter of death? Wait, what is the manner of death that might influence people?"
Gosh.
So here's the
That's a
thing,
good
though.
question.
Imagine there's a loaded gun next to your head,
Yeah.
right? And so you press the button, and then if you press blue, and you're watching like, you know, at the end of the 60 minutes or whatever the time, wherever
You turn
60
this into a
seconds.
Squid Games thing, is what you're doing.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, if you've got that more immediate, that may make it more obvious on what is the result. If you press red, that gun will just immediately turn down and not point at you. But
This is the problem with hypotheticals like this, is that the visceral reality of it is not present to you. When you read the hypothetical, or at least when I read the hypothetical at first, I'm like, I guess that just means I just drop off just like that, painlessly, whatever. But, you know, I saw one person recast this as sort of a version of the trolley problem, where if there's a trolley barreling down the train tracks, if 50% of people voluntarily tie themselves to the track, then the trolley will stop and turn around. Anyone who doesn't tie themselves to the track, they survive no matter what, right? Mm-hmm. Now, it's a little bit different because in that scenario, it's not hidden. You can see what the other parties are doing. So that's not exactly the same thing. But that was helpful because it really brought home like the imminence and terrifying reality of the death that awaits you if not everyone plays on the same team, right? That's a good point about the loaded gun. Like if that's next to you in the booth, that might get me pressing red a lot quicker.
Okay, so the one thing that would sway me towards red is because you're asking me about me. It's like I want to maximize, the survival of all. But if you tell me, push the button, red means absolutely save your wife and kids, versus the other one, I might sway towards red.
So let me follow up with that. Let's say the booth is given to you right now. You haven't had a chance to talk to your wife about it, and you're not sure what she presses. And
Oh, that's
what
scary.
happens if you press blue, she presses red, and now doesn't have a husband to provide for her.
Great question.
Darn. You did the selfish thing both ways.
Yeah, exactly. NJ Weber 18 says, "Wait, the dilemma is worse if colorblind and blind people have no idea which is which."
You know what? That's a good point, and it gets even worse, right? Because you have babies, you have toddlers, you have crazy people. This said everyone in the world, no qualification. That's how this dilemma was posed. Everyone in the world takes a private vote. Babies, toddlers, crazy people, name your everyone who you think is dumber than you, right? Would who knows how they'll press, right? And
Those babies are stupid.
yeah, but okay. So this was a really compelling argument to me for blue. Was someone pointed out that like a 5-year-old might just say blue's my favorite color. I'll pick blue. Look at that. And that's not the rational choice for the 5-year-old from a pure survivalist standpoint, right? For everyone, the rational choice from a pure survivalist standpoint is pick red. But you have to factor in that people aren't going to pick rationally. Not only that, but again, as who was it? NG Weber 18 said, you might have colorblind people who don't know and just have to guess or something like that, right? Or blind people who just have to guess. And so that means that the person posted this as an IQ bell curve meme, right? On the farthest dumb end of the bell curve, you have the 5-year-old who says, blue's my favorite color, I'll pick blue. Then the person in the middle of the bell curve says, no, you don't get it. Everyone will survive if everyone picks red. It's the individually rational choice. But then on the very far end, the genius part of the bell curve, this person said, some 5-year-old will probably pick blue. I better do that too, to increase the chances of survival of the people who don't know the rational choice. Right?
But kids love red. Red is the hot color when you're a kid, right?
I don't know.
No,
it
blue
might
is-
be blue. Blue is a boy's color, right? Like pink is a girl's color. They might like red.
And then
pink.
blue's a Marion color, so why not?
And you know what? Over billions and billions of people.
Yeah.
How does that probably start to shake out? 50-50, right? You probably have a gradually coalescing 50-50 split just from stupid and crazy people between red and blue, and colorblind people. They can be smart, whatever. You have a large segment of the population of 8 billion people that is coming out 50-50. And once you start to look at it that way, I start to think, yeah, you should vote blue. The smart people should vote. The smart, rational people should start voting blue to increase the chances of everyone living. Right? Does that make some sense?
This is getting more and more difficult. I think
It does, right?
I think this is more simple.
I'm voting red, and I'm coaching my kids to vote red.
Smooth Sketch says kids might think red means stop. But who doesn't want to push a red button?
Yeah, good point. Good point, right?
Wait, we forgot to ask Johnny. Johnny, blue or red?
After all this, Johnny, it's got to be really easy, right? Red, Johnny's red.
My man, Johnny. Thomas, you studied at TAC. You probably did some moral philosophy. Is there a Catholic moral take that's correct here, or is it prudential?
I don't know.
With like remote, like the remote or the proximate, like the degrees. I don't think it's an immoral choice to choose red because the primary choice is choosing survival. You're not choosing the side effect. In the way I read it is that some people who chose poorly may die.
Right.
I may have framed that.
I mean, graduated in 2019. How much has my mind atrophied since then? But I mean, the one thing that comes to mind is the principle of double effect, right?
Yeah.
Which some people, I remember Edgar and I when we were talking about it this morning. If you vote red, and then it ends up being not enough people voted blue, and the blue people die off, you might feel guilty, like you were responsible for killing all those people, right? Like you in some way were responsible for their death. I don't know if that's necessarily the case though, because this is a double effect matter, right? In Catholic moral theology, I'm now reading off of Catholic.com because I don't remember this well enough. There's a principle called double effect, which states that if an action has two effects, one good, one bad, it's permissible if the act itself is not intrinsically wrong, if the person acting intends only the good effect and would avoid the bad effect if possible, the good effect cannot be caused because of the bad effect, and the good effect must be in proportion to the bad effect. So, go through those one by one. First, the act itself is not intrinsically wrong. It is not intrinsically wrong to press a red button, especially if it's not certain, right, whether that will bring about someone's death.
All right, let's
What do we think?
I'm going to pose this one more time.
Okay.
I'm just going to pose the question
Okay.
one more time. 2 buttons. If you push blue, you might have to take over this one. Say it one more time.
Are you okay? We're trying to do the original one again.
Do the original so that way people know what we're talking
Let's
about.
recapitulate here. Okay.
Okay.
So this was a question that took over Twitter, posed by Tim Urban and then Mr. Beast. Everyone on Earth takes a private vote by pressing a red or blue button. If more than 50% of people press the blue button, everyone survives. If less than 50% of people press the blue button, only people who pressed the red button survive. Which button would you press? Okay, and right now we're red, blue, probably blue.
All right, and I did
So-
start a poll on YouTube, so make sure
Yeah.
you hit your vote.
And I'll say now how those results came out, right? On both polls, both Tim Urban's and Mr. Beast, which were very different in population, they both roughly came out to 56 blue versus 44 red. So everyone lives.
Everyone
Hooray.
lives.
Look at that. According to this sample, everyone lives. But so let's go through the double effect categories,
At
right?
the end, and at the end of this, I'm going to show you how Catholic Answers viewers voted.
How our viewers,
Yeah.
everyone get in there and vote. So is it intrinsically wrong to press the red button? Is that an intrinsic evil? No, right? You're pressing a button.
Yeah.
Can you intend only the good effect and avoid the bad effect if possible? The good effect you intend is self-preservation. That's a good. It is, simply speaking, a good to want to preserve your life, right? And would you avoid the bad effect, everyone dying if possible? I think I would, right? Mm-hmm. This is a messed up scenario that Heath Ledger's Joker has put me in. I can't avoid it right now, but I would if I could, right? 3, the good effect cannot be caused because of the bad effect. I can't parse exactly what that means. The good effect of, so your survival can't be directly caused from someone else's dying. I think that's what that means. Does that sound right? Does
Yeah.
that sound right? Yeah. The
You're not eating them. You're not like taking their bodies for calories.
There you go. Yeah. Good point. And then 4, the good effect, my survival, must be in proportion to the bad effect. I don't know. The bad effect is everyone who votes blue dies, if that comes to pass, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we're weighing. But the uncertainty there, does that sort of diminish that 4th category of not knowing? It especially depends on how you think everyone else is going to vote, right? If you think that a lot of people are going to press red, if that's your view of humanity, then I don't think that necessarily means that the good effect is out of proportion with the bad effect, because the bad effect is based on how you think everyone else is gonna behave, right? That's the best I got. That's the most moral philosophy I can muster at this moment. Right now, everything else is sociology when it comes to this, right? Right.
I don't know. I'm kind of lost now.
I think the smaller the community, maybe the more likely you should vote blue. But as it gets bigger and bigger, and it gets outside of, like, for instance, Christian groups and things, and it becomes outgroups that are, big, large-scale outgroups and large-scale nations that are in conflict with one another, it becomes much more of a
True.
red is self-defense.
Lulu 2013 raises a good point. In an airplane, they say put on the mask yourself first, right?
Yes.
Right?
Save yourself first.
Save yourself before you save your kids.
Right. Because if you try to help them first, then you've just incapacitated yourself, and then everyone might be in a lot more trouble, right?
I think those are 2 different scenarios, though, because
They are.
at least there you have. I think you do have a say. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if your vote is minuscule. It still counts towards something. This again, it gets back to the whole voting thing, to the elections, the electoral thing, whatever. I think in the end, it still matters, because a drop in the bucket eventually gets to something.
For me, for voting for like an election, let's say, it's to me that what's important is how you view the world afterward and how often people will try to justify their vote. So the dangerous thing about voting for somebody maybe you don't like, or like holding your nose and voting, is that you'll support everything they did because you don't want to think of yourself as having been wrong, right? Like, I voted for this person, therefore everything that they do is correct, or or what have you. So how a vote changes a person is good, but bottom line for there, it's about virtue, and you have to do the correct thing in front of you for voting for president. But this is a different thing.
This is a different thing.
I'm going through I'm going through all the Twitter chatter about it again, Twitter chatter, and I thought our friend J.D. Flynn of The Pillar had a pretty good takeaway from all this. He didn't say how he would vote, but he said, if there's one thing I take away from the red blue button thing, it's that universal suffrage, universal voting is unjust to everyone. As soon as children, like I was saying before, have a vote in something like that, everyone has to rethink his perfectly cogent approach, right?
Yeah.
Because if I have
the wild cards are always going to be there. If everyone gets a vote, the wild cards. We might be waiting a while till those newborns are able to hit a button, but at least we'll get some time to repent if you end up dying if you choose blue.
Yeah.
We didn't get Darren's vote. Where do you sit on this, Darren?
Darren's blue. Darren's blue. Now we all want Darren to survive.
Of course we do. Come on.
We all saw Darren just tie himself to the track right now, so let's all get on the track with him. Come on.
There's
Come on,
5
Darren.
of us, and we've got him. It's 2 of us red, 3 blue. So that's the thing is, like, if blue wins, the red guys aren't like, oh, I can't believe blue won. We'd be like, sweet, everybody lives, and we move past this.
I don't know about that because
But if you win, it's like, all right, half of the population's dead. Bye, guys. I get to survive.
Yeah, but that's a bad place to live, man. Let's look at the
that's
14th
what you're
century
voting for.
after the Black Plague.
That's what
you're not voting for it. I'm not voting for people to die. I'm voting for me to live.
But you
just said it's a messed up place to live.
It is a messed up place to live.
It is.
Just said
But
that.
you may have voted for people to live, but other people you don't know have the same mindset, which is a scary place to live. That is the dystopian future, my friend.
That is.
What about the person who voted blue because I don't want to live in the world if the red wins?
Yeah, you got to deal with them too, right? You got to.
Either we're all in it or they can have it.
Okay, but I thought the point you just made in passing about how like the Reds won't be disappointed if the Blues survive. I don't know about that because again, this has gotten really heated online with people like talking about the red button people or the blue button people, and some red button people. A phrase I've seen thrown around a lot is suicidal empathy. A way of a way of recasting a spirit of sacrifice into something that is actually just a net negative.
The
on
in-group,
everyone.
out-group radar image?
Yes. Yeah, I saw that one too. And I think that's a pretty cynical way of looking at it, and that's not the way that you thought it, Jeff. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, your fellow red button pushers might be a little bit excited. I saw a lot of people saying, like, press red and get all the idiots out of here. Make sure... It got kind of dark a little bit.
Yes.
It got kind of dark with people like, yeah, let's cleanse the population of low IQ thinkers, right? Nobody clipped that out of context.
But that's the reality. I mean, that's what this is. Of course, this sort of shadow maps to politics, right?
It does.
It's very much in with
Or
that.
gangs, dude, because this is like we're talking about red and blue, so this can.
Did we have to choose those colors?
Yeah.
Tim Urban, did we have to?
But like there are a lot of people, probably let's say maybe a 5 to 10% skew on either side right now that are radicalized to the point that truly believe that if we can just get rid of that other party, that we will live, the paradise that we've been promised will be ushered in. And
Yeah.
wait
Wait a minute, isn't there a political party from the past century that proclaimed something like that?
I
Just
think
one?
there's 2
Just
actually
one?
at least.
Are you sure?
Both, the radicalized on both sides are that way, right?
Yeah.
I see it more on the right because I live more on the right online, but it's also the left. I mean, anybody on the left says it, of course, that gets amplified too. So,
Yeah, this is a good summary. Everyone who presses red thinks that blue is the suicide button, and everyone who thinks blue thinks red is the murder button. Right? That's the worst possible way you can think of the other side, right? Mm-hmm. Because
You're telling me that they're dehumanizing the other side?
They are.
Is that
They
what's
are
happening?
indeed. They are indeed. And this one guy on Twitter has ascended above all of it and can declare impartially. But that's a good way to summarize the loudest, most angry discourse about it. Is that someone who picks red, not you, Jeff, but the angry red people think that, like, why would you ever think of anything other than pure survivalism? You blue people have quote unquote suicidal empathy to where you would rather risk dying just for these idiots who can't think this through logically. And then everyone who picks blue thinks, I want to protect these. I want to protect as many people as possible, rather than just, thinking only of myself. Mm-hmm. And by the way, this person says, if you press red, you're actually contributing to someone's death, right? They think it's the murder button.
Yeah, it's the stupid party and the evil party.
Yeah.
It's the red hat party
Yeah.
and the blue hair party.
So, who would you rather be? Would you rather be stupid or evil?
Can I tell you, it's actually kind of entertaining sitting here watching the YouTube poll go back and forth because there's 17 voters at the moment. And I think I think people have switched back and forth because it's gone from red's ahead to now it's a tie to then it's blue to then it's a tie. And it just keeps going back and forth. So I kind of like that it's not going one way or the other because it's, I thought this was going to be a very simple answer. And I was like, when you mentioned this, I was like, yeah, we could talk about it. I'm sure we can get about 15 minutes worth of content on this thing. But now I'm very conflicted. And I'll be honest with you. I'm reading through the chat and I'm thinking, I wouldn't expect you to be such a selfish, murdering person by choosing red. You murder red button people.
Yeah, but you can all write Cy Kellett and complain about Jeff Cam being on here.
I'm actually curious to see where Cy would land on this.
I know. I think it would be fun if Cy was red as well, because I would expect him to be blue, but I want to hear Cy argue for the red.
I think we should get buttons installed in the studio, and it should be the new question for any guest. It's press your button.
It's like, welcome in. Go ahead and pick.
But then also here's another meta level to it is let's say a month after the button pressing thing, and let's say blue wins, it's revealed what button you pressed.
Oh yeah. Do you want people to know?
Yeah, and so then that's another thing is if they were to say ahead of time, whatever button you pressed will be revealed. Well, now the red selfish revealers know that if they're in a small minority, like they could get snuffed out by the blue pressers if the blue wins a big majority.
Well, then the blues will seek revenge, and now you're the party of death, so therefore we should exterminate you.
Exactly.
Man,
I hope the blues don't seek revenge. That doesn't sound like them, right? Right. That's a good point though, because the other phrase that I saw a lot of red button pushers throw around was virtue signaling about blue people, because supposedly everyone who went on Twitter and said I would vote blue is virtue signaling that, I don't care about myself as much as I care about other people. And look at me, so virtuous. I would rather take the chance of dying and not murder someone else.
The real question is, which button would Jesus pick?
and you know what the best answer to that is that Jesus spent most of his ministry sidestepping around stupid hypotheticals like this one. Jesus would tell us a parable that took us completely out of it and made us all hang our heads in shame.
So who do we pay our taxes to? Come on, Jesus.
Yeah.
Tell us.
Yeah, right.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, man. All right.
I think the last wrinkle to this as Catholics is that, like, the resurrection of the dead sort of colors this a bit, because if you're an atheist, a materialist, or if you're not in a state of grace or something like that, you really don't want to die. So you're going to hit red pretty much right away, because death is the end. Death is it. That's it. That's no more. It's done. But as a Catholic, I don't think that this means that blue is correct. But knowing that death is not the end, and knowing that we're going to be reunited with our bodies and God willing in paradise, that takes a little bit of the sting off, right? Oh, death, where is your sting, right? That takes a little bit of the sting and the edge off of this dilemma. Death is still something not to be trifled with, to be afraid of. And again, if you put the gun right next to my head in the voting booth, that's going to really push my emotions a lot. But we should try to keep that in mind, right?
Yeah, living is not the most important thing, right? He who saves their life will lose it.
Yeah.
Right? And so there is that as well. But I just think there's a responsibility, especially we're all fathers here, as a father. If my kid hits red and I hit blue and then I'm gone, like he's getting raised by savage, evil people who voted red.
That's right.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
If you're Pope, do you tell the clergy to press red?
That's why I'm not the Pope.
I know.
I would think
Can't
the
reject my question.
I would think the Pope would tell the clergy to push blue. I'm still there, man.
We need priests.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess if every single clergy, person with holy orders selected blue and they died, it'd probably be the eschaton. Because
Yeah.
I don't think God's going to leave us without.
Yeah,
any
actually, we might
priests.
bring about the second coming that way. You can't do it by rebuilding the temple in Jerusalem, but
Yeah.
Mr. Beast has this really cool invention here that's gonna bring about the end of the world.
Can you imagine this actually comes to reality and it happens like, all right, oh, red's
Yeah.
won. Oh, why are the
Yeah.
clouds opening up? It's like,
Mr. Beast's greatest YouTube video of all time. Wait a minute, Beast. Wait a minute.
there you go. Oh, there you go.
It's all coming together. Oh no.
This is what it's all come down to. Mr. Beast
the
is
boomers were right.
the beast.
The boomers were right. He might actually be the Antichrist.
Oh gosh. All right, with that, I'm going to end the poll.
Okay.
And let's see
What did our YouTube audience vote?
our YouTube audience
Blue wins by an edge.
by an edge. 53
Great.
blue, 40%, 47% red.
We all
Congratulations. We saved your life. Well, you would have won anyway, so it
We
doesn't
all
matter.
live. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Oh gosh.
Divine Mercy Catechesis sums up what we all thought. That was my instinct, but now I am confused. It doesn't matter what your instinct was.
Yep.
Right. I think to close it all out, one person, Otto von Tweetmark, said the biggest insight of the red button, blue button thing is the average person does not know what they want and is an incoherent sentimentalist mess.
Yeah.
Can we
Classic tweet man right there.
Wait,
yeah,
hold on.
exactly.
I think that perfectly describes X in a nutshell.
As
isn't
a
it?
matter of fact,
Yeah.
yes, I think it does.
And that, my friends, is one reason why I don't ever get on X. So
Yes.
I'm sorry for the two of you.
A virtuous choice on your part, Edgar.
But then again, I'm on every other platform,
Yeah.
so it's not like there's much sanity in those platforms.
I want to see these votes split by demographic of social media platform now. How are
Oh, that would be interesting.
because I wouldn't have expected all of X or the majority of X to vote blue, but they did on both polls.
Look, if X can end up voting blue, I guarantee you the rest of the platforms will vote blue. Because X, to me, out of all of them, maybe not counting Blue Sky, but out of all of them, they seem to be the most pessimistic.
I think to the point of the bell curve, it's the most dumb. Right?
You count yourself amongst those because you're part of your
I
part.
do.
of
I
X?
do. I really like blue. Blue's my favorite color. That's the real reason I said blue.
Well, with that, speaking of knowledge, and how about a little quiz between you two? What do
Oh,
you guys
we're
think?
back. We're
back.
doing another quiz.
Yes, and I want to see. So, do you remember
Blue versus red.
There we
not
go.
not too long ago, you at the Catholic Creator Conference, which is coming up again this year, you quizzed people Tolkien versus the Bible.
Yes,
So this time,
that was hard.
this one might be a little bit easier. We're gonna do the Bible versus Mr. G.K. Chesterton.
Oh boy.
So,
Oh boy.
are y'all ready? Is it
Okay.
Chesterton
Do we have to
quote?
slap for who? Is it one person at a time, or
Yeah,
how does
let's
this go?
One person at a time.
Okay.
So yeah, when we did it before, Sai just told one of us each round who got to answer first.
Yeah,
right?
so I'm going to give you question 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
And just go from there. So,
Okay.
I have 3 rounds worth of quotes, but I don't know if I'm going to do all 3 of them. So we'll,
Okay.
Depending on how we go here. Right.
I've read the Bible all the way through 2 times with Father Mike. Almost 3 if you count freshman year at TAC, and I'll fully admit I didn't finish every reading. And I've read 1 Chesterton book all the way through, I think 3 times. So that's
All right.
That's about how prepared I am.
I'm a dog in this one.
All right. Well, let's start off with Mr. TikTok Engine. Is it Chesterton or is it the Bible? The way of a fool is right in his own eyes.
That's the Bible for sure.
Ding, ding, ding. Correct.
That's it. Yep.
Thomas, you got that? Good. All right. Mr. Jeff Cam. There is a road that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death.
Chesterton.
That is incorrect.
Oh,
That is Proverbs 14:12. So sorry. That's an X. Hold on. I got to figure out how am I keeping score on this? I don't know how to keep score.
You do it. Darren, hold up some fingers.
There we go.
No,
Other way. There you go. There you
Darren.
go. All right.
Don't
All
even-
right. All right. Next question. The reformer is always right about what is wrong. He is generally wrong about what is right.
That's Chesterton all over it, man.
Yeah.
He's got those parallelisms.
All right. Here we go. Mr. Jeff Cam. A man who has any religion at all has a religion that he cannot explain.
That's Chesterton.
That is Chesterton. That is correct. All
Okay.
right, man. All right. Okay, so
Okay,
this
2-1.
is 2-1. This is pretty even. All right. Now I got to find my place again. All right. Last question of the first round. Thomas, to be clever enough to get all the money, one must be stupid enough to want it.
I think that's Chesterton.
That is
I think
correct.
that-
That
okay.
is Chesterton. That is Chesterton.
Some proverbs are surprising, but that's yeah.
That's what I notice whenever I go back and read Proverbs. I'm like, I don't understand how this ended up in here. This is interesting. Yeah.
These are some bars.
They're great.
All right, Jeff Cam. The more we know about the real world, the more we shall find that it is a supernatural world.
Chesterton.
That is correct. It is Chesterton. All right. We have 3-2 with Thomas ahead. All right. Round 2. Here we go.
No, round 2. Okay.
Thomas, I will make your heavens like iron and your earth like brass.
That is the Bible.
That is correct.
Yes.
That is Leviticus. Leviticus 26:19. Jeff Cam. The simple believe every word, but the prudent man looks at his steps, to his steps.
I'm going with the Bible on that.
Correct. That is Proverbs 14:15.
That was a Chestertonian proverb, but
Very much so. All right. Where are we? Okay, 4-3. All right. Thomas, a dead thing can go with the stream, but only a living thing can go against it.
I've read that one. That's Chesterton.
That is Chesterton.
Yep.
That is correct.
Yep.
This is too easy for Thomas. I'm not liking this. It's got to be a little harder for him.
John Sorensen is going to be ashamed of me. He's like, he tells me like, dude, I don't get why people like Chesterton so much, man. You know, it just seems fogey to me.
All right.
Man, I don't understand it, man. It's real complicated.
I'm surprised because, well, you like Chesterton and you're a metalhead, and he's a metalhead too, but doesn't like Chesterton.
I think I'm more of the contradiction there.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. All right, Jeff Cam. The world is a wild garden, and she is the wall that keeps the wild things out.
that sounds like Chesterton describing the church.
That is correct. Good job.
Okay.
All right. Good job, guys. I'm really impressed. I would have failed miserably, so I'm glad I'm in this chair right now.
Yeah, next time pick an author that I haven't read anything of. Like
I know. Actually, that's good for next time.
Schleiermacher or something.
that's why Tolkien was hard for me because I read one of his books.
Oh, really?
That was it. Yeah.
All right, Thomas. He that troubles his own house shall inherit the wind.
That's a proverb. That's the Bible.
Proverbs 11:29. Good job. All right, and Jeff Cam, a continual dropping in the very rainy day and a contentious woman are alike.
The Bible.
Correct. Proverbs 27:15. Not to make you out to look like never mind. I'll stop right there. All right.
Darren, what's
Sounds
the
like something a
standings?
red button pusher might say.
That's right.
Darren, what's the standings at the moment?
6 and 5. I gotta say, I'm thoroughly impressed. You guys have gotten most of these right.
Neck and neck.
All right.
Okay.
Round 3. Final round. Thomas, the act of defending any of the virtues has today all the exhilarating qualities of a vice.
That's Chesterton.
That is Chesterton, correct?
Loves his paradoxes.
Yes, he does. This is too easy for you then. All right.
Oh, stop.
Here we go. Jeff Cam, confidence is in an unfaithful man in time of trouble is like a broken tooth and a foot out of a joint.
The Bible.
Proverbs 25:19. Good job.
Okay.
All right. Thomas, as a dog turns to his vomit, so a fool turns to his folly.
That's the Bible.
That's right.
That's one of the best ones.
All right, Jeff, for every man bears the burden of his own soul, and no man can deliver his brother.
Oh, can you read it again, please?
For every man bears the burden of his own soul, and no man can deliver his brother.
The Bible.
That is Chesterton.
That was hard. That was such. I think I would have gotten that one wrong. That one was so hard. Oh no. Oh no.
Apparently, it's a paraphrase from Orthodoxy. So.
Oh, that one would have been really hard.
All right, and the final question, Thomas. An adventure is only an inconvenience rightly considered. An inconvenience is only an adventure wrongly considered.
Come on. That's my guy, Gil.
All right. Gil. All right, and last one for Jeff. For the house of a man is a castle of his spirit, and he shall not be moved through the mountains be cast into the sea. Though the mountains be cast into the sea.
I'm going to go with the Bible on that one again.
That's Chesterton.
Golly.
All right.
Man.
I lost counts, but I think the victory. Oh, here we go. 9 and 6. All right. Good job, guys. Impressive. He destroyed me in the last one, too. So the reigning champion right now is Thomas. This is really impressive. You know what? My respect for TAC is growing significantly. I like this.
Oh, stop.
Wait, you mean the school where all we do is read books?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Hey, we go to Fellowships of Praise and Wednesday Wing Night. What can I say?
I love that. I would flunk whatever quiz you could pull up on one of those. That's for sure.
All right.
No, if you swap one or two of those, it might have swapped the result. I don't know. But some of those were real puzzlers.
So, maybe. So we'll have to.
You hung right in there, Jeff. You hung right in there. Good job.
Until I didn't.
Well, thanks for playing, guys. All right, we got a few more minutes. Should I introduce the last one, or should we just go to a break until we come back to the show? We might just break here.
Can we talk about the trolley problem or something?
For about 5 minutes?
Yeah.
All right. So, well, thanks, guys. Thanks for joining for the Super Show.
Yeah, that was fun.
Thank you.
All right.
Edgar.
When we
Thank you,
come back,
Thomas.
we have 2 full hours of an Ask Me Anything. Hour 1, we got our very own Tim Staples, and the second hour will be William Albrecht. So hang in there. And if you have a question in about 5 minutes when the phones open up, give us a call, 888-318-7884.